And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, my dearest viewers. Today I will be discussing my newest vlog, which is all about this website I've created. And it's all about the concept, or rather, topic of gene editing. And now here I am today to share to you the topic that I've been working on. So, you just might get a little gist of it and, check out my website if you can. So, today I'll be sharing to you this really interesting subject that I've come across, and it's all about gene editing. So, welcome to this new vlog of mine, which is all about gene editing, the future of genomics. All right. So, what are we gonna talk about right now? So, we're going to be talking about the introduction to genomics, gene editing, the advantages and disadvantages of gene editing, and a brief history of gene editing, as well as the ethical considerations of gene editing and future prospects of gene editing. That was a lot of gene editing. Well, I mean, it's all about genomics and gene editing. What do you expect? Anyway, Shen, I see you right there. This is what we're going to be talking. So let's start with a brief overview of what we're dealing with. So we have these two terms, genetics and genomics. As you can see, these are usually mistaken for each other. Genetics is sometimes interchangeably used as the term for genomics and vice versa. So let's get things out of the way. Let's make it clear. So, genetics focuses on the study of individual genes and the traits they control, while genomics looks at the entire set of genes for a particular organism. So, genetics studies the biological mechanisms that are responsible for the heredity of genes. So, that's our keyword, heredity, while genomics looks at the entire genome of an organism to better understand its development and function. So, genomics looks at let's say it's more of the intricate parts of genes, while genetics focuses on the heredity. Genomics focuses on basically the genes itself. Okay, so there we have. And now moving on. Why genetic engineering in the first place? Am I right? Okay, so why genetic engineering? Number one, it is one of the top rising technological advancements of the century, specifically in the field of genetics. I mean, from the term genetic engineering, right? Number two, it is quite a controversial topic among mass media, provided its concerning implications and exposed ethical considerations and limitations. And number three, it is a constantly expanding field of study that has its sights set towards the future of genetic variation and control. Right, so moving on, we have already cleared out what genetics and genomics means, and as to why I chose this quite complex yet interesting topic of mine, let's get to the main part. Okay, so here we have a brief introduction of what genomics really is, focusing on genomics right now. So, genomics is a field of biology that studies the entire genetic makeup of an organism, including its DNA sequence and gene expression patterns. I am so sorry. I hope you don't mind the background. Early riser struggles. Anyway, so going back, it involves the use of advanced technologies such as DNA sequencing, bioinformatics, and computational biology to analyze and interpret rather large amounts of genomic data. Now, the study of genomics has revolutionized our understanding of genetics and has led to many important discoveries in medicine, agriculture, and environmental science. Now, if you can really hear that nasal tone of mine, I must say I'm sorry in advance because I have come down with a really bad cold and I'm just in the recovery stage at the moment, so, you know, it really is a struggle to speak with this nasal thing going on right now. Okay, so that's it for the introduction to genomics. I hope you already had that little gist from the comparison earlier with genetics. And now we have gene editing. So, gene editing is another concept, you see, that allows scientists to make precise changes to the DNA sequence of an organism. This can be done using various molecular tools such as CRISPR-Cas9, which is the latest technology of gene editing, zinc finger nucleases, and talents. Now, gene editing has many potential applications, including the treatment of genetic diseases, the creation of genetically modified crops, and the development of new therapies for cancer and other illnesses. Well, could you imagine that? That is not only revolutionary, that is quite the breakthrough in medical technology. That is something, that is a big leap, step, jump, I don't know, for humankind. That is life changing, you know. It's just too much of a control, or it's as if humans such as us already are able to possess the power to control DNA sequences, which are naturally just too intricate and complex to manipulate. And with this technology, it seems as if everything's just, you know, at the tip of our fingertips now. So, before I delve on to the hyperfixation of gene editing, let's move on to the advantages and disadvantages of gene editing. Okay, so now, one of the main advantages of gene editing is its ability to treat genetic diseases by correcting or replacing faulty genes. Okay, that's true. It also has the potential to create new therapies for diseases that are currently untreatable, namely cancer. We always have that. Now, however, gene editing also raises ethical concerns, particularly around the issue of genetic enhancement. There's also risk of unintended consequences such as off-target effects or the creation of new diseases. Now, given that this technology hasn't really been perfected as of the current, year, century, uh, it is, how do you say this? It is inevitable to have these types of flaws. And although I'm not saying that I would tolerate these types of flaws, I'm just saying that in the name of science, in the name of science and everything experimental, gene editing will always have its pros and cons, although having its cons in the heavier side, since really it does have ethical implications of, you know, because editing human genes, which is in what I must say is like could be already baffling. I'm just baffled by this statement. Okay, it could be morally, it could be morally wrong, and it could be in a way um, defying the natural law of humanity. See, we were created by our Creator, God. And with that said, if we were to edit genes, if we were to manipulate our human code of some sort, you see, that would mean that we are defying the natural laws of the universe and all that. And more to that, as said in the slide of mine, it also raises ethical concerns given that it could heighten the risk of unintended consequences. See, it's still in its somewhat experimental stage, and it could literally create mutations. It's as if anthropogenic mutations of some sort, and the creation of new diseases because of how risky it is and how complicated it is to actually do the whole process of gene editing. But you know, as I said, what is science without the risks of science? So moving on, we have a brief history of gene editing. Alright, I won't be delving on so deep about the history because it's really long as far as I've researched. So we'll be having a brief history of it. So the history of gene editing can be traced back to the discovery of restriction enzymes in the 1970s, which allowed scientists to cut DNA at specific locations. Now, this paved the way for the development of more sophisticated molecular tools such as ZFN or zinc finger nucleases and talons. Now, however, it was the discovery of the CRISPR-Cas9 system in 2012 that truly revolutionized the field of gene editing, making it faster, cheaper, and more precise than ever before. Well, I hope you can just look up those tools actually because Or rather, you could really just visit my website and look at these tools such as same finger nucleases, talents, and CRISPR-Cas9 because I've discussed those tools there, and you can see a few um, what do you call this animations and well images of what these are supposed to be. So come and check out my website. I'll be leaving the link down below this video and see you there. I guess. Okay. Next we have the most controversial topic for this concept of gene editing, which is the ethical considerations of gene editing. Now, gene editing undeniably raises many ethical questions, particularly around the issue of genetic enhancement. Now, should we be allowed to edit the genes of future generations to eliminate certain traits or enhance others? And what are the potential risks and unintended consequences of doing so? Now, there are also concerns about access and equity. See, as gene editing technologies may only be available to those who can afford them, it is important to consider these ethical considerations carefully before moving forward with any applications of gene editing. Now, going back to this main question, see, should we be allowed to edit the genes of future generations to eliminate certain traits or enhance others? In my opinion, see, I think we should be utilizing this technology of gene editing and recombinant genes for the betterment of medical healthcare treatment, but not necessarily by editing the genes to eliminate and enhance certain traits. There's this problem of what's this? It's as if we're staging ourselves up for inequality of some sort, see, because we're already being selective of the traits that we have. Shouldn't we be, as much as it would sound biased in my end, because uh, there are a lot of people out there who sometimes wish they could have been different, but sorry, but honestly, in my end, I'd say that aren't these differences or quirkiness or what we may call flaws of ours the things that make us special? I know special is a big term, but let's just put it this way. If we come to edit and choose traits that we get to have or the future generation gets to have, where how can we actually maintain the integrity of humanity? How can we maintain the integrity of human genetics? See, genetics or the hereditary process is one of the things that really grasps the concept of humanity. You know, being human is to actually, what's this? Get the traits or to have your traits passed on. You inherit there. That's the term inheritance of traits. That's what makes us living natural creatures. It's what keeps us distinct from every other thing or organism in the universe. If we are to move on and proceed with the concept of actually eliminating certain traits and such, or enhance certain traits because we just want them to, it's as if we're just making, I don't know, experimental beings. I mean, sure, they can be human, but like, they're basically experimental beings. They aren't 100%, what's this, certified human. They're not 100% purely um, genetically pure human that has inherited traits from their parents and such. This is why it's quite the controversy. See, people want the convenience of editing everything in the tip of their fingertips. But this is one thing that I believe should be really pondered upon because I just really think that gene editing can be a big help in the world of medical technology, but not so much when it comes to, you know, basically altering the human code for the purpose of, uh, personal preferences, self gratification and all of that. So, anyway, wow, I've been rambling so hard, and I'll just move on to the next one, I guess. So, these are the future prospects of gene editing. Now, the future of gene editing is both exciting and uncertain. On one hand, there are many potential applications of gene editing in medicine, true, agriculture, true again, and environmental science. On the other hand, there are still many technical and ethical challenges that needs to be addressed. And as the technology continues to evolve, it will be important to ensure that it is used responsibly and ethically with careful consideration of the potential risks and benefits. And that of which is true. So I hope you just I mean, could I just ask, have you actually been enjoying the artwork, the watercolor paintings? Because I've been enjoying them and they're kind of pretty. And now, to conclude, the study of genomics and gene editing has opened up a world of possibilities for the medical field. And with further research, the possibilities for gene editing are endless. Indeed. Now, the potential for gene editing to improve people's lives and help future generations is an exciting and promising prospect, and it is certain that this field of study will continue to advance. And wait, whoa, I'm not leaving you with that yet. Okay, so before I end this video, I'd like to share my words of thanks and salutations. More specifically, I'd like to give my thanks to the following people who have been with me through thick and thin, through laughs and tears, through sobs and jokes, and for being my ride or die people. Number one, we have my parents, for being my strongest pillars of strength and the wind beneath my wings. Thank you guys for just being present, for being who you are, for being there to pat my back when I feel like I can't do things anymore, and for being there to celebrate with me in my smallest and biggest victories. Next, the Corn Gang. Guys, I know you might watch this video later because you told me to. Okay, and I thank you for being the best supporting barkada that I could ever ask for. And for being my daily dose of randomness and chaos in times of doom and gloom. You guys are the best. And even though we haven't seen each other for a while now, your presence in our small conversations and video calls has always helped me, continue with everything else despite how difficult it is and how challenging these times can be. And the X Squad, well, this is not an official squad yet, but thank you to the X Squad. You may know who you are for keeping me company and helping me stay afloat with daily banter, jokes, and hints of shared suffering from ACADS. And clearly, these are my friends and classmates from Southwestern University, FINMA. And thank you guys. Just, I can't start to explain how thankful I am for being there. Just listening to me rant about stuff, for just looking at me doing my project in school while you guys just go like you're studying again, you're doing projects again, and just like that and endlessly. Thank you guys for all your support. Thank you for being there for me. And that would be it. And that's a wrap up for this video. See you in the next one. Bye.